Chapter 1. It was a Friday afternoon and I was round at Jake's house. We were both in his living room playing on his Xbox whilst his mother was doing some paperwork. I'd met Jake through school. We were both aged 15 at the time and I'd be at the same school since I was age 11. Jake, however, had moved from a different school about a month ago, so we hadn't known each other that long. But we were fast become best friends, which was great because whilst I'd made lots of friends, I hadn't got anyone else I would say is a best of friend. We were getting on so well we had already decided that same day to have a sleepover that evening. Jake had just beaten me on a racing game that we were playing. Text on the screen said, "Game over," which was kind of a relief as I needed the bathroom anyway. I told Jake I did and he told me his bathroom was upstairs. "Back in a minute," I said as I got up and made my way slowly upstairs. As I made my way to the top, I overheard Jake and his mother start talking. I could hear them pretty well and was curious at the time if they'd say anything about me. "Jake honey," his mother said, "I know your friend's staying over tonight but you still have to wear a diaper tonight as usual." "Yeah, whatever," Jake replied as if implying he would, but she didn't need to point out the obvious. I stood there at the top of the stairs still as a statue. I felt a mixture of surprise and excitement and had butterflies in my tummy. This news, to be honest, was brilliant to hear as I wore diapers too. I myself was not a bedwetter and hadn't been for some years. I didn't have any kind of incontinence either. I was, however, into wearing diapers. I'm what some might call a TBDL, which is an acronym for Teen Baby Diaper Lover. I assumed from evidence of hanging round with him that Jake must only wear them for bedwetting at night and wasn't hiding incontinence or something, because I'd inadvertently seen Jake get dressed for sports at school and like most of the other boys in our class including myself he wore boxer shorts. Plus I'd also happened to have seen him standing at the urinals. I carried on upstairs and found where the bathroom was but instead made a turn and went into Jake's room, which I had been in earlier to pick out the Xbox game we had just been playing. This I know was quite impolite and nosy of me, sneaking into other people's bedrooms. I admit that was wrong of me. But truth be told, I wanted to see the diapers and maybe, if I'm honest, steal one. I opened up his wardrobe first. Nothing but shirts and jackets hung up in there along with a school blazer. I carefully closed it, trying not to make lots of noise, which I managed. I then tried a chest of 4 white drawers. The top drawer contained boxers and socks. I closed it. The second had t-shirts in it. The third had trousers, and last but not least I opened the fourth and final drawer and bingo. This drawer had some ordinary pajamas in them, folded neatly. But next to them, like I was hoping, were diapers, plain white cloth-back adult-sized disposal diapers. I felt accomplished for having found them and took one of them out and inspected it. I had no idea what the brand was but thought they looked cool. Having a sneaky look at the diapers were enough for me and I decided not to steal it after all, as I didn't feel right doing so to Jake. Plus I had some of my own at home and there were only 3 in Jake's drawer, so he'd probably notice if I stole one. I put the diaper back, carefully shut the drawer, then tiptoed towards the bathroom, went for the pee that I'd intended to do in the first place, flushed, washed hands, then went back downstairs where me and Jake carried on playing on the Xbox game. Chapter 2. It was 7:30 p.m. and I was back at home packing for the sleepover. I'd laid out pajamas, clothes for tomorrow and one of my tennis slips. This discovery about Jake had made me even more want to let Jake know that I wore diapers too. I had tried several times in the past to try and tell him, but I often chickened out and got embarrassed, and even knowing now that he wore them I still don't think I could get the words out. Tonight though, I'd got a plan. When packing my pajamas, I'd only pack my pajama top and the diaper but not take my pajama bottoms with me. That way, unless I wanted to be waist down naked, I'd have to wear the diaper on show in front of him and I wouldn't have to try and tell him because he'd see for himself. I packed the clothes for tomorrow: jeans, sports brand t-shirt, socks and underwear. Then my green pajama top and the tennis slip into my rucksack. Then said goodbye to my parents, then left to go to Jake's again for the sleepover. I was so excited. Back at Jake's house, we'd spend the early evening playing more video games for a while, before watching TV, specifically a few episodes of the show Top Gear, which we both loved. Around 10 p.m., the moment finally came. Jake and me decided to put our pajamas on even if we wouldn't be going to bed just yet. Jake had got his pajamas out and I'd noticed he'd used his pajamas as a shield when getting the diaper out the drawer to conceal it, presumably so I wouldn't see. Jake went to get changed in the bathroom, leaving me the bedroom to get changed in with the TV left on turned down low. I took my pajamas and the diaper out my rucksack, then got undressed. I put my pajama top on and picked up the diaper. Now my heart was beating 10 to the dozen. I was nervous. Very soon my friend would come into the room to find me casually wearing a diaper as if it was the most ordinary thing in the world. In this moment, different conclusions to the result of my plan to deliberately getting caught rushed round my head. I partly wished I hadn't thought of this plan as I sat there staring down at the diaper in my hand, trying to figure out what I would do in what felt like hours. I sat there until I heard a creak in the floorboards in the bathroom next door. I assumed Jake was about to come out. I decided it was now or never. I couldn't sit there forever just holding a diaper. If he came back with me just holding it, it might look suspicious. Whereas him coming in to find me wearing it might show that I felt comfortable enough around him to not need feel embarrassed about it. I had decided if he asked though, I would tell him I wore it because they made me feel more secure and would not make up some lie about bedwetting or incontinence. I unfolded the diaper, not bothering to try and cover up the noise. I then slipped it under my butt, did up the tapes quickly. As soon as the fourth tape had been done, I heard the lock on the bathroom door open. I sat up on the bed waiting for Jake to return and wondering how he'd react. Then sure enough, Jake entered the room. He had a bulk in his pajama bottoms, obviously having put a diaper on himself. He glanced towards me and I said, "Yo." He said, "Yo," back. Chapter 3. His first reaction appeared to be a little surprised, but he seemed to be acting as if he hadn't noticed and didn't say anything. I worried that I freaked him out, but soon enough we carried on as normal like we were before. We both got out our midnight feast. We'd both gone halves and brought stuff to eat and drink, which consisted of a large family-sized bottle of Coca-Cola, 2 bags of sweets and bars of chocolate, as well as a big pack of crisps. We both drank out the bottle as we couldn't be bothered to get glasses. Jake went first, then me. Whilst I was doing so, Jake farted. This we found hysterical. I burst out laughing, spraying Coke out my mouth, which made us laugh even more. At the same time the Coke had fizzed up and had started overflowing out the bottle, with me trying desperately to hold the bottle over the bin, which we also found just as funny. We carried on laughing and fooling around and making jokes. I'd completely forgotten I had a diaper on. When we'd calmed down a bit, we carried on making our way through the feast, chatting away and enjoying ourselves. It went a little quiet, and then Jake finally mentioned the elephant in the room. "Hope you don't mind, but would you be okay having a rubber sheet on your bed? Only my mum makes a big deal about it." I liked the sound of that and said, "Sure, okay." Jake's mother was just passing by. He said, "Mum," and she poked her head in the door. "Have we got another rubber sheet?" She looked a little confused for a second, then poked her head in further, then saw me sitting there, and on seeing I was wearing a diaper said, "Yeah," as she went off, and a minute later or so came back with a rubber bed sheet. I got off the bed and she started taking the sheets off to put it on. Feeling a little awkward, said, "Sorry for the trouble," smiling, and in a friendly voice she replied, "Oh, it's no trouble, better to be safe than sorry, especially after drinking all that Coke." After a short while she put the rubber sheet on, then put the rest of the bed clothes back on top. When she'd done she turned to me and looked down. "You not bring any pajama bottoms with you?" "No," I said. "Would you like to borrow some of Jake's, or will you be okay just wearing a diaper?" Not wanting to make a fuss about it, said, "I'm okay." "Fair enough," she said. "Jake often wears his diaper without pajamas." She looked towards Jake. "Told you wouldn't have to be embarrassed about it, Jake." Jake said, getting embarrassed and going a little red. After Jake's mum had finished she said, "There we go," and left the room smiling, and probably knowing we'd be up too late said slightly jokingly, "Night, boys," then left, closing the door behind her. Chapter 4. There was a short silence, and we both sat watching TV. "So how long you needed diapers at night?" Jake said, "I honestly planned on telling the truth and saying I didn't need them and it was a security and comfort thing. but after his mother had gone to the trouble I'd feel bad telling the truth at this point. All my life, I lied, you. Same, he said. Cool, I said back. Hey, you wanna play hide and seek? I laughed and agreed. Jake let me hide as I was the guest and he'd count. I went downstairs into the kitchen, where Jake's dad was in there getting a bottle of beer out the fridge. I felt a little embarrassed for a second with his dad seeing me wandering round the house in only a diaper and pajama top, but Jake's dad just smiled and said hi and didn't seem that bothered by it. The kitchen had a larder in it where I'd planned to hide. Hi, I said, can I hide in there? We're playing hide and seek. Sure, knock yourself out. Jake's dad left the kitchen. Jake found me in about 10 minutes and it was my turn to count. The game carried on for about an hour. It even progressed to the garden, although Jake dug out some of his trousers in a laundry pile and a warm hooded top, both of which were too big for me but did the job and kept me warm. It covered up my diaper but I didn't really notice it much. The hide and seek outside game became Dobby, but we didn't play for very long because we were making too much noise and were told to come inside. This playing classic childhood games felt amazing to me. I was technically still classed as a child, being under the age of 18. But as a teenager, you're apparently supposed to put this stuff behind you and outgrow it, and I wasn't ready for that. I didn't feel I was totally immature, but part of me, possibly my teen baby side, felt the need to keep part of my younger childhood alive. Me and Jake, after coming inside, progressed towards bed. We were both tired and it was quite late by now, and his parents had reached their limit of us running round the house and wanted to go to bed too. We laughed and joked around a little more, along with talked about general stuff such as girls we liked, sex, games, TV and so on. Then we fell asleep. Jake fell asleep first. As he stopped talking and through the light from the table I could see him with his eyes shut. This has been such an amazing evening, I thought to myself. I wish I'd told Jake the diapers weren't for bedwetting, but all in all I felt glad he knew and that he knew I knew about his bedwetting. Chapter 5. I woke up to the sound of birds tweeting outside. The curtains were pulled over but you could see the light shining through the edges. I looked over at the digital alarm clock on Jake's desk. 9:30 it read. I looked over at Jake, who was still fast asleep. I then slowly pulled myself upright, not wanting to make too much noise. I could feel the diaper but it felt different. I pulled back the covers, sure enough it had gone bulky and yellow. I had obviously wet the bed for the first night in a long time. I got up to go to the bathroom, and by now I wanted to take the diaper off. I tried not to make a lot of noise, but knocked my elbow against the bedside table and woke up Jake. Morning, I said. Morning, he said back, really sleepy. Where you going? Bathroom, I said, but you still have a diaper on. You don't want to waste it, dude. I need to shit, and what would your parents say? Jake laughed. Well, okay then. But my parents don't really mind, it is a diaper after all. Might as well make best use of it when you have it on. It's lucky that Jake laughed, making it obvious he was joking because I'd seriously considered pooping it. Jake got out of bed, revealing he'd taken his pajama trousers off, showing his wet diapers. It appears he was now not embarrassed to wear diapers in front of me, so all in all the plan worked out. After that we took our diapers off, put some clothes on and got our breakfast.